So I decided to do a late update on Friday. Maybe you can watch this over the weekend. I'm going to talk about the trades that were taken in the last 24 hours, the ones that were closed, and the ones that are currently open on my personal account. I took some trend trades and they didn't really work out too well, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, why I took the positions, and also where and what's going on with them. So here we go. So this is Robert's account that you're looking at now, and you can see the two trades that were taken with the expert advisor, one here and then one here on the New Zealand Canadian dollar, and this was taken on a inside candle, as you can see, inside candle set up here, and then this was on a grid. The second trade was on a 20 pip grid. And there wasn't a lot of volatility in here, so it was almost exactly 20 pips, and you can see where they closed out the two positions. Now this area where it closed out was just about perfect before it reversed and now is continuing back down. And what caused it to close out was the Aussie CAD. It's because it had a trade in as well, and that was on the inside candle on the 1 hour. And you can see where the entry was, and it was a really good entry, and it popped up and it closed out here. So these three trades on the NZD CAD, the two on NZD CAD, and then the one on the Aussie CAD, all closed out at the same time for an overall profit on my account of $200, which roughly is about 50 to 60 pips profit overall at my current risk setting. So really awesome. So you can see that those two pairs are at least at this time are helping each other, and I suspect that to be the case throughout trading with these two pairs, because they do correlate in sometimes, or a good portion of the time. I estimate anywhere from 70 to 75% correlation off and on. It could be even as low as 60. That's just an estimate. I'm not really sure exactly about all this stuff, but from what I can see with my research. All right, so Robert's account has closed out in some profit, and you can see that here, slowly making back the losses that happened earlier on. And I haven't taken any manual trades still on his account. It's just been slow progress back up. So this week, 0.76 profit, which is $917. So I'm really happy with that. That's not bad at all. I'd like to be at least 0.5% on his account in a week's time, and so that's looking really good. Ideally, it would be above that, anywhere above 1.5, maybe to 1% would be great. And so I'm above my expectations for this week, even though I think it's a bit slower. It has been a bit slower. All right, so my personal account. My personal account, well, it's been a little interesting today. And you can see that I closed out $58 profit. So initially I closed out for a loss because of some trend trades that I took that I'll get into in just a second. But overall, I've come out with $58 for the day, so not huge, and a pretty low profiting month. But I have some trades in there right now that might pull me out into some decent profit before the end of the session today. I'm gonna have to see what happens. All right, so let's get into those trades now. All right, so it's been a little interesting because I took a trend trade on the Euro US dollar, and I took a couple trend trades on the pound US dollar. Now you're probably wondering, well, why are you taking trend trades when you typically take counter trend trades? Well, I still haven't lost all hope in trend trading, and sometimes I will take some positions that are with the longer term. Like, for example, I feel more comfortable taking short positions on the pound than long positions right now, considering that there's still a lot of Brexit pressure going on in the UK. So that's one place I want to be. I don't like taking long positions, but if my expert advisor does take a long position, I'm not going to close it out unless I think it's a really bad placement of that long position. So it's very, very rare for me to do that. All right, so let's get into the first Euro US dollar trade. Now this trade was taken on the 30-minute time frame, and I'm going to explain this to you So hopefully it makes sense. And if you look back, you'll see that where my entry was. I'm going to mark it. I liked this area because I saw that there was some previous resistance and support in that area, here, here, and here. There's some in there, and there was also in the past, and it was somewhat near the whole the whole around number. But what I was mostly going for is this push up, and then the reversal back down, and then the push back up. I was expecting this to push back up, hit this resistance area up here, and then continue back down with the bigger trend on the 1 hour or even 4 hour chart. Now I was thinking that this would reverse and continue down there. As you can see, that didn't happen, and the Euro US dollar has been climbing since. All right, so the idea was to enter here and just have a stop loss in place because this is a trend trade, and so I'm not going to do any baskets on this. And it didn't work out. I closed out the trade after a pretty good close on this candle, and then I didn't enter any more positions. Although I could have probably put a basket trade up here after this inside candle and when it pushed back down, but I decided not to since this is a different type of trading idea. And so I stayed out of that. Waited until I found an opportunity on the pound US dollar. Now this was taken on the 30-minute chart, also with the bigger trend, and you can see that I took it here. So this is my position, and I liked the resistance in the past. Right here, there was also some in this area in here. So there was multiple places or previous data that reversed around this point in price, and it is because I mean it's right at the 1.315, so that's the half number. I'm not sure if that has much to do with it, but in this case it did actually reverse a bit there, but I had a larger take profit of about 100 pips set in this movement right in here, so the 35 pips or so from my entry to the bottom of this move happened when I was sleeping, because otherwise I probably would have closed out after the inside candle right in here and would have just taken 15-20 pips profit. Didn't work out, and I woke up and it was in drawdown. Actually, I woke up and it had hit loss. Now it's unfortunate because right when it hit loss, it was basically at the peak of this movement, which happened to be, I think, the news candle, the GDP that came out, that was pretty positive on the pound, and it was the delayed reaction of that GDP, and then it shot up. So after this position closed out, I re-entered on the 15-minute time frame. Now I'm going to show you what that entry looks like, so you can get an idea. And this inside candle set up here wasn't necessarily just an inside candle. It was the candles before that, in particular this one, and then these indecision candles. A lot of wicks on them, not a lot of price movement. I thought that there could be a continuation down from there. No, didn't get it. And so you can see first entry. There's right there, one lot. Second entry was entered right on this in this area. You can see there's an inside candle set up on the M15, but I actually took the one on the M5. There was one on the M5. You can see it here. I took that, and number 2 position did push down a bit, but it wasn't enough for me to get out in the profit that I was looking for. I was looking to come out with a bit of profit at this point, at the lowest point. It was at about break even from these 2 trades, trades 1 and trades 2. We're about break even, and so I held on to it, and then as you can see, it shot up again, and then I entered again. This was trade 3, and this was entered on another inside candle setup. And you can see that one. It did push down again. So I'm picking the spots that are moving. They're just not moving enough because there is an overwhelming, I guess expectation for the pound to go up here, or pushing of the price, and price action is being a bit ignored when so much buying pressure is happening. So orders 2 and 3 did have some pullback. It was just too small for me to get out. So I am spotting the right places. It's just not really working out for me. And, you know, that happens in trading, where you pick a position and it goes the wrong way, and you try to correct it the best way you can. So it was on trade 4 that things really started to move for me. It was right on the inside candle setup here, and then finally it started pushing down, and that was a much bigger move than the rest of them, than this one and this one. And you can see that this was twice as big, or even more. And I was able to peg almost the very peak of that reversal, and it did push down. Now I was in about $200 profit here, and unfortunately I did not close out because I was looking for a target of 500 on this. So that's 0.5% on my account. Not huge, but I wanted to take something out of this entire mess that was here, instead of just coming out break even. Maybe that's a mistake. But I'm trying not to be too greedy, because I was in the maximum of at the top the fourth trade up here at the top. I was in about $2,000 drawdown, which is about 10%. So that's not huge, but it was fairly substantial up there, which made me a little bit nervous, because I don't want to hold on to my trades much longer than that. I'm looking to hold and to close out at 10 to 15%. So this is pretty close to my peak, so I needed it to reverse at this point, and it did. Otherwise, if it went up a little bit higher, maybe 20 to 30 pips from there, I would have probably closed out for a $2,500 to $3,000 loss, and then moved on to another position sometime next week. So what's happening right now is the volatility is obviously dying, because it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, and there was a bit of a pullback here. I wasn't expecting it to happen right here. There wasn't a lot of indication, but it is around a whole round number, as you can see, 1.32, and I'm guessing that it's going to probably stay around this area until the close of the market. So I have about an hour. I have exactly an hour before my broker closes. I believe. I think that they close at 4 p.m. And I'm hoping that I can get a last-minute push on the pair. This sometimes happens in the day, and I only need about 15 pips from here to actually close out, maybe a little bit less to close out in profit. So not a whole lot. It's unfortunate that I'm so close yet so far. But I still have an hour, and so I'm going to wait and see what happens. So not a good basket, as you can see, and maybe you can say that I'm not great at trend trading. Maybe this is just a bad setup. But honestly, it's one reason why I don't like trend trading, is because there has been so much pressure on the downside on the pound in the recent time, like right here, and it's slowly been pushing down. It has had pullbacks, but when it pushes up against the downtrend, it really does push up a lot, and it can get a little bit dangerous if you're basket trading. So one reason why I like to try to stay out of doing trend trading is just because it makes it difficult when you get a wrong trade. And in this particular case, I did decide to do basket trading on it, and maybe that wasn't the best idea. And then when trend trading, it may be best to actually have a stop loss instead of doing basket trading. But that is my preference, and so far basket trading has been what has turned around my trading in the last 3 or 4 years, and so that's why I do it. So I don't know if this is going to close out today. I'm not sure if I'm going to hold it out over the weekend. I may close it out in a small loss. I have come out with some profit this week at $300, so I may close out and just lose my profit for this week, and then move on to the next trade. the reason why that's something that I may do, and I'm going to have to wait and watch closely in the next hour, is because I don't want to wait for the gap, a potential gap over the weekend. It could be up, it could be down, I don't know. I'm just not sure if that is worth the risk, considering that I have 6 lots out. And if the gap it happens to be way above, something huge happens over the weekend, Brexit talks, yeah, it could be a big loss for me if that is the case. Nothing that I know is happening over the weekend, but as you guys know, Brexit news can come out at any time, and it can cause tons of volatility. Alright, so I'm still also currently working on some expert advisors. And the one that's testing in the background now is one that I keep trying to get to work long term, and I can't seem to get it to work long term. It looks great, right? You can see that it 10,000 to 1,300 in a matter of 9 months or 10 months, and it's a scalper. That means most trades are in only for a few hours at maximum. And so that's the ideal setup, but I just can't get it to work over 5 to 7 years, which is what you guys should be doing with your strategies. Making sure that they work at least since before the crash in 2008 or the recession of 2008. Not before, but just after. So anything that works from 2009, 2010 on is great, but if it actually works through the recession, so 2008 and before, that's a good sign, because that means that your strategy can withstand some really heavy volatility and volume and just a lot of issues with a lot of currencies, because that's when a lot of currencies actually, when or countries started having issues. It was fighting the tail end of our recession from 2008 and 2009, and still showing issues in multiple countries like the UK and Japan has their issues as well, and just to name a few of them. So I'm not going to get into all the fundamental stuff, because I haven't done enough research to give you all the details on that. So I'm very general with how I approach that stuff. So I don't want to sound like a dumbass speaking things that I haven't done enough research on to really give you a really good assessment. So that's why I try to stay away from that stuff. Okay, so that's it for this week. I wanted to give you guys an update on what's happening, what I've done, and what I'm looking at for this week. And will I do more manual trading with trends? I don't know. It didn't go very, very well in the last 24 hours. So maybe I'll take it easy for a while. But I really should calm down, though, right? With this crazy trading, I guess you might say. But was it so crazy entering a pound US dollar on the short side? I don't think so. I mean, I think that's a much safer type of trade than going long on the pound, but who knows? All right, thanks you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.